All right.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good night, and welcome to tonight's session. As most of you are aware, tonight we are going to be looking at permission to pause with Miss Seneca Williams, and you can see her on your screen. And so we welcome you. We would have emailed the workbook that we'll be using tonight to everyone who would have registered. So I hope you have your workbook handy because you're going to need it for this session. And Seneca has also placed the link in the chat for those who haven't gotten a chance to look at their emails as yet. So it's in your email and it's also placed as a link in the chat. So we welcome everyone. We hope that you enjoy this evening session and that you learn a lot and you learn things that you'll be able to implement in your lives. So at this time, I'll turn over to Alicia to introduce Seneca to us, and then we'll get right into the presentation for tonight. Welcome again.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you had a fabulous day where we've passed hump day, where it's pre-Friday. And so I'm excited to have Seneca with us this evening. Seneca Williams is the founder of the Conquer Network, a personal development platform for business professionals. As a psychotherapist and coach, she specializes in supporting careerpreneurs and entrepreneurs. A sought after international speaker, Seneca has presented at universities, corporations, and business communities, offering mental wealth training both virtually and in person. Seneca has co-authored several books, including Glambitious Guide to Being an Entrepreneur and Glambitious Guide to Conquer Fear, Anxiety, and Depression. Her expertise has been featured on NBC, Shout Out Miami, and Thrive Global. Born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Seneca migrated to New York in the early 80s and relocated to Florida in 2015, where she now resides with her college-bound daughter. She enjoys slow days at the beach, good food, and so if you would like to connect with Seneca to cultivate your mental wealth for business, you can visit her website, senecawilliams.com, and I will be placing that in the chat. And thank you so much, Seneca. I'll hand it over to you.
It's an absolute honor to be here, ladies. And you know what? I have done all those things, but you know what I haven't done and what is the first time? It is the first time I'm speaking with an organization from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So shout out St. Vincent and representing. I am so happy and honored that you all have me here. This means the world to me to be able to be embraced by my people. So wonderful to be here. All right. So I know it's Thursday and you all went to work today and probably I don't know who's here, but maybe there's kids, maybe you're tired, maybe you're getting dinner, but I love interaction. So if you feel so inclined, you can come on camera. It's going to be interactive. We're going to be talking. I'm not going to be talking at you. It's going to be very much like a sister circle, a workshop. We're going to get to know each other. It's also another first for me because I will be sharing my own health journey. I actually haven't shared it before, so you all will be the first to hear my health journey, and I will be sharing everything. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But while I do that, I have the chat up. Let me know your name. I see some of the names here. I see Larissa's here, Shakina. I see Suzette, Verona, Elika. I see Raquel. Let me know where you're from. Put it in the chat where you're tuned in from. I'm just curious to know. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. And as I'm talking, you may see me look down sometimes. I'm just checking my notes and making sure that I share everything. Oh, Zoom is requesting a bypass system private window picker. I don't know what that means, but let's allow it. Okay, great. Okay, great. So that's up. So let's go ahead and get started with the program. All right. Now, for those of you, I want to know you can okay, let me pull up the chat. I want to know, can you see me and hear me? Just want to make sure it's sharing. Put it in the chat, one, if you can see me and hear me. All right, great, great, great. So let's see who's here. All right, so we have St. Vincent, yes, in the house. Canada is here. All right, Brooklyn, what's up? Actually, I used to live in Brooklyn, as you saw. All right, everyone here is SVG, Camden Park. All right, great. So we are good. There are still people coming in. So Alicia, if you can let them in, if you're a co-host, please do. Okay, Trinidad, I see you. Okay. All right, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, beautiful. So the topic tonight is a continuation from that first session, a continuation about mental health. As you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I wanted to talk about that connection of mental health and our physical health. Oftentimes, we kind of separate the two. You know what I mean? We talk about our physical health, we talk about what we're going through, the aches and the pains, but we separate it from our mental health, or vice versa. And so, oh, okay. So to get centered in the session, in the room, like I said, you can come on camera if you want to. Even if y'all are in your bonnet, if you in your head tie, if you in your nightie, it's all good. But if you don't want to, that's fine. You can just comment in the comment box. But I want us to just be in this space together. So we're gonna go through 4 sections. I'm gonna try to cover as much as possible, but you know this topic can go and go and go. But to get us centered in the room, I'm going to ask you to do this right now for yourself so that you can be present. I'm going to ask you to place your hand over your heart. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths. Those deep breaths that come from you inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And I want you to do it like when you're blowing into a balloon and it's like, or thinking of blowing a bubble that's blowing bigger, all the air out. Okay, so let's go ahead and place our hand over our heart, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths. Let's do the first one. Inhale. Let's do it again. Inhale. And we're going to do it a third time. Inhale. Now, if you did that with me, you should feel a little bit different. Let me know how you feel in the chat if you did it. If you didn't do it, you can catch up and do it right now. Let me know in the chat. How did that feel to do that? I see calm. Okay. I see a heart from Suzette. Nice. All right. So now that we're centered, we can get started. Relaxed. Okay, wonderful. Also, see this lovely lady at the beach? That's my calm, soothing place. Lighter. Okay. All right. So we are centered. So you heard a little bit about my background, so I won't take too long here. But yes, I am a licensed therapist, but I also do coaching and speaking. This particular picture was me in Jamaica last year, speaking to a group of doctors at a conference. So I have been speaking about mental health in so many different arenas, but this is actually the first time I'll be speaking about mental health in particular to women's health issues. So let's get started. I felt it was only appropriate when sharing my story to talk a little bit about the beginning. So, as you can see, lots of pictures here. My lifestyle was very, very full, very busy. I was out all the time. I was out on the weekend. In the weekdays, I was going to networking events, conferences, If you can see here, that was Vincy Mass, I think 2017. I had energy. That's me with my daughter some years ago. And I would say that all of these pictures were taken between like 2016 to about 2019. I was volunteering in church. If you see at the bottom there, I was leading a church group. I had so much energy. I was able to do so much at that time. And during this time, I had already been diagnosed with fibroids, but it didn't get to the point where it was so bad like it had gotten at the end of 2019 and 2020. So, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought someone was saying something. All right. So, as you can see, very, very packed life. Now, I don't know how you all have experienced your health and what it was like for you, but like I said, I love participation. Can you relate to this? Can you relate to remembering the time before your diagnosis, remembering your energy, remembering what you were doing, what you looked like? I didn't even look the same after this. Like, I remember just like a hard line of life before. So if you do remember that, you can say relate in the chat. You could put a one if you like. I can't type, maybe you're driving or whatever, but put in a one in the chat if you can relate to remembering life before the diagnosis, life before it got to a point where it felt like all you were doing was managing and thinking about it and going to doctor's appointments and getting treatments and figuring out what's next and worrying, is this what it's going to be like? So I just wanted to start there so you guys could know a little bit about my story and that I can understand a bit, even if I'm not going through exactly what you are going through. So the after took me a while. You get to a point where you have to make a decision about your treatment. You get to a point of you've tried everything. If you've tried everything already, let me know. You've tried supplements, you've tried vitamins, you've tried tea. You know how the Caribbean people be like, you just need to drink some bush tea? Let me know if you've tried everything. This was where I was right here. I tried everything. And you know what really helped me to make that decision is that I wasn't suffering in silence. Some of us are suffering in silence. We're not telling people what we're going through. We may not have anyone to talk to. We may have come from families, because you know, in the Caribbean, you know, in St. Vincent, everything is private, right? You don't talk your business. You don't talk about what's wrong. You just kind of like, you smile through the pain. You don't really share with everyone, or no one at all. Luckily for me, in my family, fibroids was something that we had passed down. Now, my grandmother never talked about it, but my mom did. And I was very thankful for her for that, because you know it's hard for our moms and grandmas and aunties to talk about private stuff, right? So I see some people shared, yes, they've tried everything. That's where I was in this picture. I had tried everything, and I got to the point of my doctor saying like, hey, you have an option of surgery. And that was a difficult decision, and I know some of you may have come to that point of having to make a decision, or it's coming down the road where you have to make a decision of, do you need surgery or do you need a specific treatment? And it was really scary for me. And this was in 2020, so can you imagine having surgery in 2020 in the United States? I can't even explain how hard that decision was, because the last place I wanted to be was in anybody's hospital in America during a pandemic. But I had to do it because it had gotten so. So we get to the place of acknowledging, and a lot of us are going through an unseen battle. I say unseen because I can't see your faces right now. I can't see you, but I'm sure you walk through your day and no one would know that you're in pain, or you walk through your day and no one would know what you've been going through. No one knows that you've tried everything. No one knows that you are constantly thinking about, what do I have to do next? What am I going to do to fix this? How long will this last? Is this the rest of my life? I don't know where you are in your life, but for some women, they're thinking, am I going to be able to have children? Am I going to be able to have more children? These are very, very tough decisions. They're thoughts that we carry. This is part of the unseen battle. How do chronic conditions impact your mental health and your lifestyle? So I put this picture here because two reasons. This was like right before my surgery. I believe maybe a week before. I had made the decision, the date was planned, everything set. And I decided to try on some of my clothes to see if they could still fit. Because, like I said, my body completely changed. Let me know if your body has changed. It almost felt like I was a mutant, like I didn't have control over my body. So I didn't fit my clothes anymore. I love this dress. This was one of my favorite dresses. Let me know if you ever bought like a dress or you bought an outfit and like you spent a lot of money and you like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna invest in this and I'm gonna wear it and keep it for a long time. That was me with this dress. I love this dress, but I could barely zip it up. And I was like, I'm gonna have to probably just let go of the thought that I'm gonna be able to wear this dress anymore. And I also decided to do something else as I was trying on clothes. I decided to do a bit of a photo shoot. So I see here, I wear baggy clothes these days. Exactly. I can totally relate to that. I had to wear a lot of things to cover up and mask my body. But not only that, it was masking how I felt about myself and what I was going through. And, when you're in pain, you're not thinking about looking cute. You're just thinking, like, I'm just trying to get through this day. So I'm just going to leave this here for a moment. And I know you probably hear people talking about their experience with fibroids, but at this point in time, I don't think anyone knew that I looked like this. And one of the reasons was I isolated myself. I stayed inside. If people invited me out, I usually would say no, because usually when people were looking at me, they weren't looking at my eyes. They would kind of look down. I could see their eyes dropping. They would gaze down. And some people were bold enough to be like, when are you expecting? And how could I be upset? I did look like I was expecting, right? So I'm just curious, how many months pregnant do I look in this picture? You could put whatever you think, because at this point I'm good. I'm 8 months. Isn't that wild? 8 months pregnant, right? So I couldn't even get mad, right? That somebody was like, "Are you expecting?" Because I look like I was about to have a baby. If I went to the mall, if I went to a party, wherever I went to. This is my life. I get this question every day. Same experience. Yes. So I looked full on pregnant and I didn't want anyone to know. And I didn't want to talk about it. And at this point in time, I started realizing how much it was affecting my mental health. Not only the isolation and the not talking about it, but I was in pain all the time. Can you imagine trying to sleep with this weight on your body? If any of you are mothers or have been pregnant, you would know, like, it's very uncomfortable to have a huge weight on you trying to sleep, back pain, all kinds of issues. So it was so hard to sleep. I was constantly in pain. And it got to the point where I was like, God, is this how I'm going to die? Because it got to a place where my period would last sometimes for 3 weeks. And sometimes it never stopped. And you know what? I actually thought to myself, I wish my granny was alive, because maybe she knows some bush that I can drink that can get rid of this, because this cannot be life. this cannot be the experience that I have to go on with. And I definitely don't want this 8-month pregnancy to get any bigger. It was sad. Larissa said, oh no, yeah, it was sad. Those were very, very dark days. And as you can imagine, like I said, it was 2020. So we were already socially distancing. So I was just at home thinking to myself, this is the year that I'm going to either hemorrhage from this and not exist, or I'm going to do something and get surgery. And for those of you who may wonder what I ended up doing, I had an option that I researched with my doctors. I went to 2 different doctors and I got a second opinion, and I decided to have a hysterectomy. And we did that laparoscopic surgery, the robotic surgery. That was the decision that I made that was best for me and my life. But I know that's not the decision for everyone. And if you are thinking about doing surgery, you should have a second opinion. You should definitely talk to someone. So, this is the point where you might want to take out your journal. And if you don't have the journal downloaded, it's okay. You have it forever to download and to keep and to print out. But I want you to kind of, if you have a journal or anything, I want you to jot some things down as we go through this. But this is the brain and body check in, because at the time, even though I was a therapist, right? And I want you to understand, even therapists can go through mental health challenges. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on with my mind body connection. I was having these dark thoughts. I was going through all of this, not realizing how much my body was actually impacting my brain. So there was brain fog. I had trouble focusing. I don't know why, but I could never find my keys. I remember every time I would have my keys, I couldn't find them. I was losing them all the time. I think one time I even thought I threw them in the trash, and I was going through the trash because I couldn't remember anything at all. So I was having memory slips. I was indecisive. Like, it was just very hard for my brain to work the way that I wanted it to work. And then, of course, there's the emotional fatigue of constantly thinking about, I have another doctor's appointment. I remember going to one of those doctor's appointment, and I actually started crying, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you fine?" So let me know. You could put in the comments here if you feel comfortable enough to share, which one of these signs do you feel like you can relate to the most? Which one of these things come up the most for you? And maybe it's a list of them. Maybe it's not just one thing, maybe it's a list of them. And the reason why I included this is because oftentimes we're pushing through, we're not pausing to pay attention to what we're experiencing that is indicating to us it's time to get help. And I'm not just talking about going to the doctor, I'm also talking about getting emotional support, getting help for your mindset, getting help for the journey. Okay. So, those of you who have just joined us, welcome. We are in the midst of talking about women's health and mental health and how connected it is. So, as I take a sip on my coconut water, it's actually fresh coconut water. I want you to kind of think about which one of these things affect you. And maybe it is time for you to start reaching out for support. Loss of motivation, insomnia, memory slips, brain fog, definitely. And I can't believe what a difference it is from 2020 to now. Like, how different it is after I got that surgery. Um, I didn't realize how much the body was affecting the brain. Loss of motivation. That is a powerful one. And the hard thing about the loss of motivation, it affects your daily activities, it affects how you take care of yourself, it affects your work, it affects just about everything. So the mind body disconnect, that is what was going on. I had a mind body disconnection. So research shows that the chronic pain actually rewires the brain. Can you imagine that? It's not you. It's not because you didn't sleep enough last night. It's not because you didn't eat healthy enough. Like that chronic pain is actually rewiring your brain, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus. So this is real. There's research on this. And these are the areas that are involved in your emotional regulation and decision making. When you are dysregulated, it's hard to function. It can affect your relationships. It can affect you at work. All of these things feel so out of your control, especially when you're not able to talk about it with anyone and people seem to not understand. I remember feeling like that, like no one really understands what I'm experiencing. Let me know if you've ever felt that way. Like nobody really knows what I'm going through, and you felt like you were just by yourself, like in a shell going through all of this, and no one really could get it. So these things lead to feeling anxious, anxiety, leads to depression, fatigue, and even more cognitive fog. And that fatigue is not a normal fatigue because I remember people being like, you just need to go to the spa or you just need a nap. I would sometimes just sit there and like my body would just joosh, like a battery died. I would just be out. I would just need to like go to sleep instantly. The energy would just drain from my body. And that's how I was like, this is not normal tired. So, yeah, I see a lot of yeses in the chat. There came a time when I got back to journaling because, like I said, I felt like nobody could really understand me. I felt like I couldn't really talk about it with anyone. And even though my mom was very helpful in sharing her journey, I still had internal thoughts that I didn't want to say out loud. And one of those things was I felt betrayed by my body. Have you ever felt that way, like betrayed by your body? Like, how did you just stop working like this? How come you can't just like repair yourself? I tried everything. I tried detoxing. I tried to eat vegetarian, vegan, stay off beef. I tried all those things. Exercise. It helped for a little bit, but like I showed you, I still got to the point where I looked 8 months pregnant. How could you do this, body? And when I wrote that I felt betrayed by my body, I realized that mind wasn't going to help my body to heal. Being angry at my body, having those dark negative thoughts weren't going to help me. They actually were causing me more pain. It actually was increasing my stress hormones, the cortisol hormones. It was just making it worse every time I had a thought like that. So Larissa said, that's what we used to say. That feeling of betrayal is so real, right? You go from feeling like this normal person, and I don't like to use normal, therapists don't really say normal, but you go from feeling like normal, like yourself, to who is this person? Who stole my body? What happened? And those are the things that I say we struggle with in silence because you don't feel safe saying that to somebody because they're going to be looking at you like, what are you talking about? Or what does that mean? Or you don't feel that way, or it's not that bad, or you're exaggerating. But that's how it felt. So I want to talk a little bit now about the healing part, right? So this is after realizing I have to do some different things besides just the eating healthy. I have to make sure I'm in self preservation mode. I have to protect my peace. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So before I move on to this, if you feel free to share about anything I just said, you can go ahead and either come off mute and share, or you can share in the comments if there's anything that I said, or even if you have a question for me, I'm open to that. We're definitely going to talk at the end, but I want to make sure I get everybody's thoughts in as they come to mind because like I said, I love being interactive. Okay, so we have some more people coming in. If you feel shy to come off mute, you can also just put it in the chat. You don't have to raise your hand, you can just speak. Okay. All right. So that's fine if you don't feel comfortable speaking and if you don't feel like sharing, we'll move on to protecting your peace because this was very important for my healing and it is going to be very important for your healing as well. I said protect your peace like your life depends on it because it does. If you're not protecting your peace, and you're dealing with a lot of stress, especially like external stress, all of that is going to affect your healing journey. It's going to affect your body from day to day. It's going to affect your energy and all of that. So let's talk about how you're going to protect your peace. All right. So we're at the point of either you are using your journal that we shared, or you can use like a notebook or anything like that. So I'm going to ask some questions and you let me know how many of these you can relate to. This is a self check. You can use it at different times. You can use it as many times as you want, just to check in with yourself that you are honoring your boundaries. So check if I say yes when I want to say no. I say yes when I want to say no. The next one is I feel responsible for other people's emotions. Next one, I feel guilty when I cancel or rest. I feel guilty when I cancel or rest. Other one, I keep working even when I'm in pain. Next one, I put off my needs to avoid conflict. All right, so someone else has shared in the chat, I keep working. Two, I keep working. I mean, it could be all of these, right? All of them. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but Nikita said these are on point. So, yes, it could be all of them at the same time. So, we want to be real. That unspoken pressure to push through can leave us burned out. Setting boundaries is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. It's not something that you can think about, okay, should I or shouldn't I set boundaries? It's like you need to set these boundaries because you don't realize that all the stuff that you're going through physically is affecting you mentally. And by saying yes when you mean to say no, by pushing through and working through the pain, you're only adding to what's going on or prolonging it, right? So you have control over this part. You may not have control over what is happening in the body. Like I showed you earlier, I felt like a mutant. Things are just happening to me that I can't control. But you know what I could control? I can say no. And I can learn to control not feeling guilty about saying no. I can control going somewhere or not going somewhere. Okay, let's see. Larissa said, I say yes sometimes when I want to say no. Feeling responsible for other emotions can be hard. That is extremely hard. One, as women, we are conditioned to be nurturers and givers. We are conditioned to kind of put ourselves to the side and make sure everybody is okay. And this one is extremely hard because we want to put our children's first. Oh, they want to do this, they want to do that. They have stuff going on. We want to think about their emotions, and oftentimes what we do is we push our emotions to the back, often to the point where we might lose ourselves. I've heard so many women say that. I have lost to myself. I feel guilty when I cancel or rest. I often put my family needs above my own. And the interesting thing about that is every woman that's here is here because they may be going through something challenging with their health. But even though we're going through that, we're still putting other people first. I am no different. I always want to be there for my family. I was the go to person, right? I need something. Let's go to Cine. If you know me, um, before this, my social media is called Ask Coach Sen because I'm the person that people go to personally and professionally. So it was really hard for me to go from that to being like, no, not at this time, maybe later. It was very challenging because it always felt like I was doing something wrong. Let me know if you ever felt like that, like you're doing something wrong by setting boundaries. Culturally, it's not something that we are familiar with. And many of us have seen our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties tirelessly working. And we didn't realize that they didn't have the privilege of saying no. They didn't have the option to say no. And our ancestors couldn't say no, but we can. We are the generation that can say no and take care of ourselves. I am sick because I couldn't say no. Yeah. Yes, on point. Still learning this for myself. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we went through that. We all can relate. Okay. So the great thing is, this will be on the replay so we can go back to it. But there's an emotional toll when we have poor boundaries. And as we talked about, and as you all shared, it makes you more sick. It's not something that you want to continue doing. So if you've thought about it before, I want you to make a decision today that I'm going to do something about these boundaries so that I can heal, so that I can stay well. All right. Raise your hand if you are a people pleaser. I like to consider myself a recovering people pleaser. I see one raised hand. Yeah. All right. I see a nope in the comments. Okay. Okay. So that's good that you are not a people pleaser, but a lot of us are people pleasers. We may have been trained or taught to be people pleasers for different reasons, and that is a whole other session that we could talk about. But I like to refer to myself as a recovering people pleaser. So I am no longer people pleasing. And for those of you who are wondering, what does it mean to be a people pleaser? I like to make people happy. It means that you are pleasing people and serving their needs at the expense of your own. It means that when someone asks you to go to the store and you know that you're in pain and you need to be laying down, you're still going to go to the store because you're kind of worried that they're going to be upset with you, or you're worried that they're going to feel disappointed in you, or whatever reason. Or for those of you who know what it's like when someone needs a ride somewhere and you're like, it's late and I'm tired, but you're afraid to say no. So that's an example of people pleasing. So it's when you ignore your own limits. This can trigger that emotional fatigue and even resentment because you know you really can't do it. You know your body is not able to, push through, but you still do it. And sometimes when we do that to ourselves, we're like, they're not even grateful. Like, I did this and they wouldn't even do that for you. Okay, so Alicia said, "Oh, from that perspective, yes." Okay. Yeah. So sometimes we worry about disappointing people and we end up just saying yes and yes and yes, and that's also not healthy, even if it's a good thing. Right? Even if it's a good thing that they are requiring from you, it can still be okay to say no, because your body is not able to handle it. You don't have the emotional bandwidth or the physical capacity to do it. I often tell people that, do you have the emotional bandwidth or do you have the physical capacity? So this could be something for you that you start asking yourself. So you know how people will say, hey, what are you doing later? I sometimes now tiptoe into that conversation and I'll be like, what's going on later? Before I start saying, oh, nothing. Right? So I think that you need to start learning to pause, right? Permission to pause and check, do I have the emotional bandwidth for this? Or do I have the physical capacity to do this? This one comes up a lot with clients that I've worked with over the years. So even though I work with clients a lot talking about work related stress or talking about their mental health as related to business and things like that, they have a lot of suppressed emotions. There may be stuff going on at home, like you're not getting help. There may be stuff going on within your family that you're not talking, you're not expressing. There's some kind of dysfunction, or there's some drama in the friend group, or there's some drama with your coworkers or your boss, and it's suppressed. And guess what happens to suppressed emotions? It increases your pain sensitivity. So now you holding on to whatever you're feeling, you're not talking about it, but it has to go somewhere. Where is it going? It's staying in your body. That might be why I ended up looking 8 months pregnant. I don't know. I was going through a lot of stuff with family. You don't know. So suppressing emotions is definitely not healthy. You need to express them. You need to talk to somebody. And maybe you feel like you can't talk to the person directly yet, but you have to talk to somebody about it that you trust. That's not going to spread your business. That's not going to tell everybody else. Okay, so we definitely don't want to suppress our emotions because it's linked to increased cortisol and inflammatory responses in the body. Let me know if you've ever felt that way. Like somebody did something or they're doing something and you are just holding it in. You're just holding it in. You're not saying, hey, that bothers me, or you're not having the conversation. What does that feel like in your body when you suppress your emotions? If you feel like sharing that, right? And right now, is there somebody that you need to talk to? Is there something that you need to express so that it doesn't stay in your body? So Odelia says tension. Absolutely. A lot of people are walking around, right, with their shoulders tense. They're walking around with stomach issues. They're walking around with back pain. They're having constant headaches. Guess what? Suppressed emotions are going to find somewhere in your body to exist. It feels like a pressure going up your neck. Okay. So, yeah, it's going to stay in there. So, you have to talk to somebody about it that you trust because you're already dealing with so much pain. And then there is hyper responsibility. Just curious, anybody in here is a big sister or a big cousin? Any big sisters in here? Big sister here. All right. Big sisters, we are called in some cultures second mother. And you know why that is, right? Why are we called second mother? We're called second mother because usually we are the one that kind of takes care of the family, organizes, make sure everything is good with everyone, decision maker, caretaker. We're sometimes the person that everyone goes to. We have all the responsibilities. You're the one everyone comes to, right? I once said sometimes big sisters need a support group, myself included. Like we need a support group, right? Because sometimes that weight, that hyper responsibility attacks your boundaries because you feel like you can't say no to your family. The peacemaker, exactly. You feel like you can't say no. You feel like it's your responsibility to step up. You feel like you're the one who has to do the thing. And without boundaries, women often take on too much, right? So this doesn't only happen in families or with big sisters. This can happen in the office. This can happen at the job where you're the person that everybody's like, go to her. She's going to do it. She knows what to do. She's going to handle it. They're in trouble. They're coming to you to fix it. All right, let's see. We got a lot of comments coming in. Uh for me it's the opposite. I'm the baby sister and plays the big sister role. Oh man, that must suck because the baby sister's supposed to have it good. I'm so sorry, Suzette. But you know that can happen too because sometimes the baby sister, and I don't know if this is you, Suzette, but sometimes the baby sister is like the sister, and then there are brothers, right? So sometimes you may be the only girl child and you can end up having that sister role. All right. Christiane said yes. I'm here for the big sister support group. I used to wish I had a big sister. Girl, are you looking into my life? I absolutely am not looking into anybody's life, but I know because I talk to so many people and I hear so many people's experiences. And so many of us have the same experiences no matter where we live, no matter what family we come from. So I want you to be aware that being in that role can also be impacting how you feel. It can be impacting your boundaries, it can be impacting your pain. All right, let's see here. Uh Shari says, yes, I was scheduled to leave work for 5:30 so I can get home in time for this Zoom. I'm glad you made it, girl. I'm glad you're here. But because I'm the one everybody comes to at work, I stayed back to assist a team member, always sacrificing myself and my body. I know that is not an easy thing, especially at work. That's a whole other conversation because at work, you're like, I feel like I have to say yes. And I know that's not an easy thing, but I am so glad that you made it here for yourself because you could have been like, I'm tired. I'll look at that another time, but you made it for yourself. For me, it's the opposite. I'm the baby sister and plays the big sister. You're not alone in that. Okay. I love the communication going on in this chat. So I'm in the corner office on my phone, still at work, but I needed to be here. Listen, we do what we have to do. And you set a good example for people because oftentimes we are sacrificing, but sometimes we can compromise. Like, I'm gonna still do what I have to do, I'm gonna still take care of me. That is the compromise. Like, I may not be able to leave work, but I'm still gonna take care of myself while I am at work. Good job. Oh, I'm happy that you have me here. Okay, so let's talk about this scheduling. Slay your schedule, not your sanity. Do you remember? I don't remember. Was it Skinny Fabulous? I hope it was Skinny Fabulous. Had the song 25/8. 25/8 till the morning. This part. So I remember when that song came out, thinking like, yeah, it would be nice if there was more 20, if there was more than 24 hours a day. It was like, what if the day was 28 hours? Would I be able to get everything done? What if the day was 30 hours? Would I be able to get everything done? I'm gonna tell y'all something. I don't think it matters if we have 30 hours, if it matters if we have 45 hours, 50 hours. I think we will always feel like there's not enough time in the day. So I came to the realization that what I need to be focusing on is not necessarily the time, the hours that we have in a day. What we need to be focusing on more is how we prioritize things and learning how to have time boundaries. That's the word, time boundaries. So Odelia says, no matter how many hours we have, we would still have things that we need to do. Absolutely. So I just wanted you to know everything that I do goes in my planner. How many of y'all use planners? Because I know some people like, I don't use a planner, or I get it at the beginning of the year in January and I never use it. How many of you are using planners? All right, let's see. Me, I live by my planner. All right, that is so good. All right, so I always have my planner. You have apps, Planner Life, The Best Life. The thing about planning everything, some people think it's restrictive to plan everything, but it's actually going to set you free. And I'll explain a little bit why. Chrisanne said, I use my calendar on my phone. I am that friend that will send you a calendar invite with a quickness. I know that you are about the calendar life. I know that you are. You're very organized. If it's not on my calendar, I ain't doing it. That's the thing. If it's not on the calendar, then you don't worry about it. If it's on the calendar, you worry about it. And I say schedule everything, not just your doctor's appointments, not just stuff for your family, for your kids, but you need to be scheduling the time for yourself, scheduling rest time. I have times that I schedule where it's blocked off where I'm not talking to anybody, I'm not doing anything. So that way I don't feel guilty about taking time for myself because it was planned. Now, I want you to kind of think about time management with this different concept of having like an energy budget. So time management for mental clarity, it's not about time, it's more about energy. Because here's what I noticed when I got sick, right? I noticed that there were times of day where I had more energy to get more things done. So it wasn't so much about the time of day that I was doing something, it was more about the energy that I had at the time that I was doing something. Let me know if that's clear to you. There was an affirmation, it was called Energy Budget, that I had heard by Tony Jones. So after this, you can look it up. Tony Jones had this energy budget affirmation, and I was like, yeah, I noticed my energy. I have different energy at different times. Or what I noticed is that I had to conserve my energy for what I wanted to do. So I'm keeping it all the way real with you guys. When Elisa was like 7 p.m., I was like, oh, 7 p.m. Hmm. That's usually at the end of my energy budget. So what I had to do is I structured my day where I had rest at the beginning of the day so that I can be up and energized for you ladies. So I had to pay attention to my energy for what I really wanted to do. And this is something that takes practice. I know that the way that my energy works now is a lot better than it used to be. But when I was really, really sick, sometimes my energy budget, I would only have 2 to 3 good hours of energy. So if I knew that if I wake up in the morning, I have 2 to 3 hours of good energy, that's when I can do things. Outside of that, I can't schedule anything. I have to schedule rest. All right. So I want you to kind of think about yourself and when do you have energy the most? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it in the evening? And you can do this over and over and track it for yourself. So this is in the workbook. You can track it for yourself. Now, just curious, before anyone has done this workbook before, do you have an idea now of how many hours of productive energy you have? Like if you can like quantify it into 5 hours, for some people it may be 8 hours. I know for me now I can probably do like a solid 6 hours. So like let's say I start doing my therapy sessions or my coaching sessions at 10 a.m. By 4 p.m. I'm going to be kind of done because I know that that's my energy budget. But if I'm going to do things later in the evening, I'll start my day later if I can. And this can be something that you can do in the workplace too. Like if you have a work, if you work in the office and you can control certain things like when you take your lunch break or when you take your breaks, or if you can control when you're doing your tasks. Like, so you get your work and then you decide, okay, I'm going to knock that out before lunch, or maybe you have energy after lunch. I'll knock that out after lunch. So you get to decide. So from looking at this, I want you to think about today. Let's use today for an example. This morning, did you have low energy, medium energy, or high this morning? So go ahead and put that in the comments in the chat. Did you have low energy this morning, medium energy, or high energy this morning? Okay, so I see medium for the morning. All right. High energy in the morning, very low in the morning, high. Okay. Do you notice how everyone has something different for the morning? Everyone is different. So you have to figure out for yourself what your energy is like at different times of day. Now, in the afternoon, let's say from the noon, like noontime to maybe like 5 p.m., was your energy low, medium, or high? Okay, so Larissa said, I'm a morning person. Evening, I get drowsy, and night, I have energy. Well, I'm so thankful that you're here, Larissa Williams. I don't know if we're cousins, but I'm glad that you made it because it's evening now and tonight. So I'm so glad that you're here. All right, none left. Medium, medium, none, medium. Okay, it depends on my workload. That's something to pay attention to also. Noon and early afternoon tends to be high. Once 3 p.m. hits, it's lower. I'm also glad that you're here, Chrisanne. So it's the evening, and I'm probably going to guess there's a lot of low energy in the evening. But you know what? I am trying to hopefully keep you guys going. And so far, you seem good. Y'all are commenting in the chat. You're engaging. I prepared for tonight though. Oh, okay. See, we have to do that. We got to get ourselves ready. Maybe you took a nap. Maybe you stop work early. Definitely low to none. So, this is a big deal that you're here for yourself. This is a very big deal because I know that it's not easy when your body is like ready to like stop, ready to go to sleep, ready to wind down. I know that's not easy to be here, but you are. So that's something that you can do for yourself when it's time to schedule things. Like how someone will ask you, like, hey, can you do this tomorrow or whatever? You can be like, well, the morning, I usually have low energy. So I could do that for you maybe in the afternoon, right? You can start to plan your stuff that way. If you know your friends, let me tell you, back in the day, right? I'm not going all over the place, but back in the day, I remember going to parties at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. Those days are long gone. You might get me to go to a breakfast fete now or a day party, but that 12 o'clock, 11 p.m., let's go out, no more. So now I tell people, like, hey, if I'm going to go out, it has to look like this. So that's why you want to understand your body and your energy because you can plan better. And when you plan better for your health, you're going to feel better long term. And for those of you, when someone asks you, hey, are you free tomorrow? Hey, can you do me a favor? You're going to be like, hold on, let me look at my schedule. You're going to pause. Let me look at my schedule and let them know. Because I know I used to be like, yeah, I'm free, or yeah, what you want? I don't do that anymore. Now I'm like, okay, you're asking if I'm free. Let me see. Okay, let's see. What is it that you need before I say yes to doing a favor? And then I go ahead and I let them know, like, either yes or I set the boundary. No, not this time or later or whatever, based on my energy, my emotional bandwidth, and my physical capacity. By the end of this, y'all are going to be like, pause. What's my energy like? Oh, okay. Energy. Okay. What's my emotional bandwidth? Okay. All right. What's my physical capacity? And then you're going to be saying yes or no. So I hope that you will remember that and take that away or you wrote that down somewhere. All right. So, yes, how do we manage those late nights? I'll never know. Club closed at 4 a.m., then went to work later. Listen, I can't tell you how many times I went to work later. Come home, take a shower, change my clothes, and go right back out to work. I have no idea how I did that. Girl, why are you telling our age? Listen, I think we all are in this together. We're probably all around similar ages here. So there's no judgment. So this is random and there's no right or wrong answer to this. But how many hours do you spend thinking about what to wear? Especially for those of you who work outside the home. How many hours do you think, just estimate, how many hours are you spending thinking about what to wear? What am I going to wear to work tomorrow? Oh, do you said none. I put the first thing in my hand touches. Okay, all right, that's good. Women, we can spend a lot of time either thinking about what to wear, or we can spend a lot of time thinking about what we're going to cook for dinner. What am I going to cook for dinner? What am I going to cook for dinner? What am I going to cook for dinner? Like that becomes like the repeating thing. Spending time thinking about decisions that you have to make for yourself. Sometimes you're thinking about decisions about your health. You're thinking about decisions for your family. You're making decisions for either your children, your spouse, your parents, someone else. You're constantly spending time making decisions. Now, remember how earlier we talked about like that brain fog and memory stuff? It doesn't help when we're constantly having to make decisions. it can be exhausting, and it definitely doesn't help our pain. When we get decision fatigue, it can sometimes make us feel anxious because it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like, what's the right thing? What's the wrong thing? Suzette said, for me, it's packing when traveling. Okay. What am I going to pack? What am I going to put in there? So, one of the things when you are dealing with a lot of decisions and you're having that cognitive overload, and I hear this often when I have people come for support, they often say, I feel overwhelmed. That comes up often. I feel overwhelmed. So the solution is creating routines for themselves or rituals or reducing some of those decisions. For example, if you have a hard time with what outfits to wear, not for those who don't, but for those who do, maybe plan out what you're going to wear. Maybe planning out what you're going to cook. Get your groceries based on what you want to cook that week, because sometimes we go grocery shopping and we have a whole bunch of stuff in the fridge and then we still like, I don't know what I'm going to make because you didn't buy all the ingredients to make something. So sometimes planning ahead can definitely help. All right, so I'm just curious, do any of you have any routines that you want to share? You might have a routine, because I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes when you're sharing, you're helping someone else. I might share with you some routines that I have as well. So if you have a routine, or if there's something that you do that reduces the time of making decisions, go ahead and share that in the comments. And if you want to come off of mute, you don't have to raise your hand. You can come off of mute and you can share that also. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. This is something that you can do for yourself when you have those moments of feeling overwhelmed. The 3 Ds of prioritization. You're either going to do it now, you're going to delay for later, or you're going to delegate. Okay, so those are the 3 Ds. I want you to remember that. Oh, I am miserable in the morning, so I always prepare myself the night before. Oh, okay. All right, I missed that part. That's all right. We are definitely going to be reviewing everything in our takeaways, so it's all good. I think this one is so important because I hear people sometimes like really being hard on themselves. They're being very hard on themselves about things that they are not doing, like folding the laundry. Now, if you feel brave enough, who here has some laundry to fold? You did the laundry and it's just looking at you. It's in a pile somewhere, being ignored. Okay, good job. I just folded mine. I've had laundry to fold since last week. Listen, this is a judgment free zone. No need to hide, okay? So sometimes in our brain, there's a cognitive overload because we're thinking about things like, I didn't fold the laundry. I still got to fold the laundry. But you're thinking about so many other things that are very important, very urgent. And it's taking up a lot of space. So remember how I said we have an energy budget? We want to track our energy, not just our time. Chronic conditions make energy management your new productivity tool. We are generational cycle breakers. Many of us were raised to think that taking breaks is lazy. I don't know about you, but I know that I grew up thinking that you don't just sit down, you can't be still because that's lazy. Who here can relate to that? You've ever been called lazy? I heard that so much growing up. And when you hear those things, it stays with you and it becomes something that in your mind it's negative, which is why some of us can't even relax. You can't relax. There's actually a term called stress laxing because you're so stressed out when you're relaxed because you're worried about the laundry and you're worried about the appointment that you need to make and you're worried about the next thing that you have to do. I want you to kind of think about like, is that me? Like in the back of my mind, do I feel guilty about resting because I was taught that it was lazy? Because Caribbean people, these are people who don't sit down from the sun is up, the cock crowing, they're moving. And you all know what I'm talking about. If you can remember when you was a kid and you was in the bed and he's like, okay, they're up. Time to go, time to go, time to go. And if you stay in that bed, they was coming in there looking like, what's wrong with you? Why are you in the bed? So we have to like challenge some of those things that we were taught that it is lazy because our body requires rest. I want you to think about something. Think about the cell phone. When your cell phone goes to, let's say, 2%, your phone goes to 2%, and you try to use it, it's going to shut off. Some of us try to plug in the cell phone, right? We plug the cell phone in and we're still trying to use it, and sometimes it still shuts off because you're not giving it a chance to charge. You're not giving the cell phone a moment so that it's not being used, so the apps are resting or whatever. You're not giving your phone battery a chance to fully charge. So I want you to kind of think of, do I allow myself to actually charge? I'm going to give you an example of the plug-in in the cell phone and it's not really charging. Sometimes what we will do is we'll be like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and rest and watch this show on Netflix, but you also doing something else. You're on the computer working, um, you doing something over here. Maybe you're folding the clothes, right? You're still working, you're multitasking, you're not actually fully charging. And I want you to remember back to the old days, right? When people were done working and they would just sit on the porch and they would just sit outside. That was fully resting. So many of us do not know how to rest. Maybe we need a class in resting. That would be something, right? Like maybe we need a session or a class on how to rest. There actually are 7 types of rest. So I don't have it in here, but now that you bring that up, there you can Google that online, the 7 types of rest. She said folding clothes, you got jokes. Yeah, I be seeing what's going on. Yeah, so we have to actually allow ourselves to fully rest. That means when you're eating your lunch on your lunch break, you're not checking emails, you're not calling anybody. You allow yourself times where you just eat and digest and rest. Maybe it's stepping outside for 10 minutes just to catch the sun on your face. A lot of us are struggling without enough vitamin D because we don't have sunshine and we live where there is sunshine. Sometimes it's hard to shut the brain down. I agree. It is hard sometimes to shut the brain down because we live in a fast-paced time where there's always something to be plugged into. Technology makes life really easy, but it kind of keeps us plugged in. And then we have everybody else to take care of. So we're not just thinking about what we need to do for ourselves, we're thinking about what we need to do for the kids and what we need to do for our spouse and what we need to do for our parents and our siblings, as we were talking earlier. Listen, I think we do need to have a sister support group. We're thinking about everybody else. So yeah, it is hard. Instead of enjoying the moment that we're in. Yeah, this is true. So I love the communication and the chat. I wish we were all in person. Maybe one day She Is Lotus will have a retreat. Wink wink. And we can all be together. All right. So I want you to think about this. We have been taught that resting is lazy and it can make us feel nervous or anxious, like we're doing something wrong. But it's going to require you to shift your mindset that it's not wrong to rest. Resting is going to be one of the best things that you can do for yourself. What you'll notice is you actually might get some more energy get some more cognitive, some more emotional bandwidth, some more cognitive ability, you'll notice that you might actually be able to do more because you've allowed yourself to fully charge and rest. So the replay will be here for you all to come back and look at these things as well. So now we're going to share a little bit. What are 3 tasks that you feel pressure to complete this week? If you feel brave enough, let me know. What are some tasks that you're like, "Oh, I got to complete that this week," and you feel some pressure to do it? And we already got the laundry out the way. So nobody here should be putting laundry cuz that shouldn't be the pressure that you're under. When I rest, I find that I'm able to have more energy to do the things that are important to me. Absolutely. All right. So what are 3 tasks? And you don't have to put the 3 tasks in the chat. You can put one task. This is actually, for you to go back. This is homework. When you either watch this on the replay or look at the workbook, you will be able to go back and like check in with yourself from time to time, because I know everybody is not going to therapy after this, but these are things that you can use for yourself. So what are 3 tasks that you feel pressure to complete this week? So, what you want to ask yourself, is it urgent or just loud? Cleaning. Okay. Schedule more doctor's appointment, catch up on paperwork, attend some clients' needs. All right. Cleaning my car, assignments. Okay. So, some of these things are urgent and some are going to be loud. And what I mean by loud is the consequence will let you know if it's urgent or loud. If you don't clean your car, what would be the consequence? Maybe you will feel uncomfortable if you don't like clutter, or maybe you'll feel, like bad about yourself, but it's not making or breaking anything. So what that does is it gives you room to be like, okay, this week I'm not cleaning the car, but then maybe I'm doing something else that is urgent that does require my attention. The baby needs their clothes. I'm not judging, but yeah, the baby needs the clothes. So maybe you do have to wash their clothes because they can't wash their clothes unless you have enough for them. Maybe you have enough for them. But that is so funny, Nikita. She said wash baby clothes. All right. And then you want to ask yourself, can it be delayed or delegated? Can somebody else do it? Can somebody else wash the clothes? Can somebody else wash the car? Sometimes we don't ask for help because we are worried that either we'll be rejected, we feel it won't be done the way that we would do it, or for whatever reason, maybe we think it's going to cause an argument. Whatever it is, we have to think about, can I get someone else to help me with this? Lesson plans. Ooh, that sounds like how therapists feel about doing notes. We have to do it. It's urgent. Okay, so what would change if you chose rest over rushing? Okay, so these are things that you can reflect on. You can think about, like, okay, what are some things that are making me feel pressure right now, and kind of filter out what you actually have to do and what you should be focused on, and the other things, either you're delegating them or you're deleting them, or you're putting a pause on it for now. Okay, so this is also in the workbook. Pause, prioritize, and protect, right? Because we want to pause so we can prioritize and protect our peace. So it's kind of like what we were talking about. Okay. Shakina says surviving. Ooh, sometimes surviving feels like the best thing that we can do, right? We're just surviving the next day and the next day. And, the goal is always thriving. And sometimes we can just take the little bit of energy that we have and do a little bit more each day until we get to thriving. Sometimes it is like that. I don't know if you were at the beginning of the session when I was sharing at the very worst of my fibroids. That's what it felt like. Every day felt like, okay, just surviving this day. So sometimes that's what it feels like before you get to the point of you feel like you're thriving. All right, so you guys have this as homework. So let's talk about self-care. This one is talked about a lot. It's talked about on social media and TikTok. And then when I ask people, do you practice self-care? I ask them, what do they do? And I usually get similar answers. So who here practices self-care? And what do you do for self-care? I'm just curious, what do y'all do? Let me know what you're doing. You can put that in the chat or you can come off mute and say what you're doing. Oh, Samantha's off mute. I don't know if Samantha meant to be off mute or not. And Nikita's off mute. All right. So, what do you do for self care? So, let's get into it. We want to think of self care as a lifestyle. It's about the lifestyle that you live versus luxury. Because I often hear people say things like, I go to the spa, or I got my nails done, or I got my hair done, or, something like that, which definitely is great care for yourself. But then they say things like, but I can't do that every day, or I can't do that every week, or I can only do that once in a blue moon. All right, so we have some comments here. We have prioritize sleep. I try to massages, long showers, having a frappuccino. Sewing is very therapeutic for me. That's my self care. It helps me to zone out. Oh yeah, that is so good. It actually reminds me of my daughter. She used to sew all the time, taking long walks, nature, eating healthy. All right, so I have a feeling you guys know what it means to have resilient self care and sustainable self care. But let's still talk about it anyway, because somebody that's watching this may not, or someone watching this on a replay may not. So some of you shared already what self care is. Self care is definitely getting sleep, setting boundaries that we talked about earlier, making sure you take your medication or you're attending your medical appointments. That is a form of self care that's non negotiable, but you would be surprised how many people push it to the side. They push it to the side, they forget about it, and don't realize how important it is to stay on top of that. Practicing mindfulness or stress reduction techniques, all sustainable self care and pretty much free. So you can keep going, right? So you can stay resilient. Now, the luxurious self care is going to the spa, the beauty treatments, the vacations, the brunches. That's luxurious, but is it something that you can do every week, all the time? No. And that's what makes it defeating for some people because they'll be like, oh, I can't afford self care. So we want to think about not that you're not going to do these, but we want to think about what are you going to do consistently? All right. So eating healthy, saying no, that is definitely a great form of self care that a lot of people wouldn't even think is self care, is saying no. I limit my social media usage. Okay, thank you, Sharita. That's a form of self care as well, especially these days when every time you pull up your social media, there's some craziness on there. Unless you have to use social media, I suggest to people definitely limit it. If you have to use social media for your work or for your business, you can still find ways to use it where you're not engaging. You're not looking at all the negative stuff and reading through all the comments because that stuff stays in our body. Watching certain TV shows help to calm me. Okay. I'm curious, what are you watching now? Laniqua, I hope I'm saying your name right. I don't know. But what are you watching now? Maybe we want to watch it too. So, what are those TV shows? There are definitely shows.
Okay,
Yes, go ahead.
yes. So yeah, I normally love to watch those renovation TV shows, like
Yeah, the renovation shows, those actually help me to go to sleep. Like sometimes I'll just
yeah.
put them on and they are very calming and I'll just fall asleep to them. Those and the ones where people are buying houses. I don't know why. There's something about that that makes me feel calm too. So yes.
I think I think it's the fact that they break down the structures and then they just build something fresh and new and it's new and it's calming. So
It
for
is.
me that helps. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I just love to watch people bake.
Oh, yes, cooking, baking. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Because someone might not have thought of that. And now they're going to be like, you know what? Let me turn on HGTV. All right. I like drawing. I like painting. I love that you all have some hobbies and things that you do. Food Network, because these are not so obvious self care. People aren't usually sharing this on TikTok. I guess because, it doesn't look like glamorous to be like, well, I sit down and I watch HGTV or I draw. But these are the things that are sustainable and keep you resilient because when you're doing them, you're helping your nervous system to calm down. It creates a safe space for you. It's something you have control over. I like to color and do puzzles. Coloring. Oh, yeah, the coloring is a great one. Very calming. Board games with my family, all good stuff. So you're sharing these things and it's going to give other people ideas of what they can do. I found this picture the other day. This was me probably 6 months post surgery. So I had my energy back a little bit, and this is the luxurious self care. I decided to go on a retreat, and this is Sedona, Arizona. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, man, I wish this was like my life all the time. Being able to sit out in the hot tub with the Grand Canyon behind me, the Red Rock Grand Canyon, and just sitting out there luxuriating. But, that's not life every day. But, it was a form of self care. And it's usually what comes to mind when people think of self care. They kind of think of things like this, right? And it's not that it's not self care, but can you do it all the time? You want to be thinking about what you can sustain. So, self care builds resilience and luxury provides temporary relief. This is why sometimes when I talk to people and they're like, I got my hair and nails done, but I still feel this way. I still feel drained. I still feel anxious or down. It's because it was like a quick fix in that moment. It wasn't sustainable and it's not something they can do all the time or every day. All right, let's move forward. How many people here take naps? I know some people love naps and some people are resistant to naps. Ah, I got a lot of me's. Oh, yeah, naps are awesome. I love a good nap too. Uh huh. I don't get enough. Okay, I would like to. All right. Well, for some of us, it's easier to take naps than others, depending on um, one, your body, how you feel, but also sometimes lifestyle, right? If you have like babies or young kids, it might be hard. But naps are a way where you get to, like I said, the cell phone, you get to charge the cell phone. So if you can take a nap, the nap is not a long time, it's not hours. The nap could be like 30 minutes. You set a timer on your phone that you're going to wake up in 30 minutes. Larissa said, I don't have the time, but I love them when I get the chance. So when you get the chance, you do it. Sometimes it's not about being able to do something all the time, but it's about when you get a chance to do it. Got a lot of nappers. Shari said, what is that? Oh, this is good. Okay. So yeah, if you get a chance to take naps, I would suggest, trying it out and letting people know like, "Hey, I'm going to take a nap." If it's the family, I'm going to take a nap, I'm not available. And that's the boundary setting that we sometimes don't do. I want to talk about food for a minute. And you might be like, what does this have to do with mental health? Everything has to do with mental health. And even the way that you eat when you have any kind of chronic health condition. Because something I didn't mention is after having fibroids, after going through that whole ordeal, having surgery, I found out that I was going through autoimmune issues. They were like, you're having symptoms of systemic lupus. So now this is another thing that my body is dealing with. And what happened is I can't eat the way that I used to eat. So I had to shift my thinking to think that food is for fuel, not for fun. Food for fuel, not for fun. And I had to give up alcohol. And if you know Caribbean people, especially Vinci people, some of us can drink, right? I haven't had sunset in about 5 years because I cannot have alcohol anymore. But what I noticed when I changed what I eat, initially it affected me, like I felt sad and down about it, but over time I realized I feel so much better mentally. I don't have as much brain fog. I don't have as much memory issues. I don't have the decision fatigue, the mental overload that I used to have because I started shifting the way that I eat. So, one of the things I had to give up was the alcohol and, less processed foods. Just curious, has anyone here had to change their diet or considered changing their diet? Let's talk about that because your diet can really affect your mind. Okay, so we have a yes there. Yes, limited dairy. Oh, I used to love eating cheese and crackers. And I purposely don't buy cheese because I used to like slice the cheese and just eat a whole bunch of cheese and crackers. I don't do that anymore. And yes, and there are things I miss. I know I miss those cheese and crackers. It seems small until you can't have something. Or another thing is like I love roti, and I have reduced that drastically. On a vegan diet, no red meat. I've considered it. I have to do it as it was recommended. However, it is difficult. I yield to temptation. My granny Lane used to always say, resist temptation. Yeah, that can be really hard because we can get emotionally attached to food. Food has memories attached to it. It brings us joy, it brings us comfort. And then when we don't have access to that food, it feels like something is wrong and something is missing. And remember how I said I had to give up alcohol? So not only am I giving up alcohol, I'm giving up the comfort food. I was going through it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, really? Like, what is life gonna be? But I like good food, so it wasn't too hard. All right. I definitely slip up, especially when I have the sads. McDonald's and cake are my vices. It's all right. Sometimes it happens to all of us, including myself. So the alcohol I really stayed away from because it affects my body, but I do still every now and then have a roti. Maybe it used to be like once upon a time, I used to live in New York and Brooklyn. I would have roti every week. Every week I'm at the roti shop, but now maybe once or twice a year. But I don't like limit, like I don't restrict. I don't restrict myself from having it. So sometimes it's about limiting, not restricting. Nikita said, "Where? Where did I get the roti, or where in Brooklyn?" All right, Raquel said, "I make roti, man. If we were close, we would be friends." All right, we're in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, East Flatbush area. I know. I think we have some Brooklyn people here. So yeah, before I moved to South Florida, I was in oh yeah, Bus Up Shot. Oh my gosh. I used to go to Ali's Roti shop on Utica. So if you're in Brooklyn, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So something I didn't mention was faith. It is sometimes something that we can forget that we have as a method for healing. Oh, we have someone saying Ali's and Gloria's. Faith. I want to talk to you a little bit about this as a form of self-care because I'll talk to people and sometimes their faith is wavering because of what they're going through. And I know that I experienced that when I was at the worst and the darkest place. So if you were here at the beginning where I showed you those pictures of me looking like I'm 8 months pregnant, those were moments when I was like, God, like I have done everything that you want me to do. Why are you allowing me to go through this? And my faith was wavering. And I had to double down in spirituality to kind of help me with my healing and getting back to a place of like that mind and that lack of faith is not helping me. So just curious. And, when I say spirituality, it can look like actually following a religion, going to church, but for some people, it's not. So it's not necessarily about do you go to church every Sunday or Saturday for those who observe on Saturday. It's more about are you connected to your higher power in this journey of chronic pain and of healing? So, what are your spiritual anchors, if you have any? Do you go to church? Do you listen to sermons online? Do you listen to music? Do you read the Bible? Do you pray? Do you take time to sit and talk to God? Do you allow yourself moments where you are silent so you can hear what God is going to say to you? So we have yes, keeps me connected and calm. My faith keeps me grounded and sane. Oh, yes, it definitely does keep you grounded and sane as you're going through things. Sometimes when you go to the doctor and you're like, man, I am looking for the answer, I'm looking for the healing, I'm looking for the cure. Sometimes without faith, you might want to give up. So I appreciate you all sharing that. And I want to talk a little bit about something that you may not think about: guided healing. Guided healing is anytime you go someplace where someone is helping you with your healing. So, as you know, I'm a therapist and I help people in a guided way to heal. So, that's one form of healing, but that's not the only guided healing. It can look like anywhere where there's some kind of structure and support in your healing. So this creates a feeling of safety because you're not alone, you're not by yourself. This actually is a form of guided healing where we all are here gathered together. And what this does is it helps our nervous system to rest, digest, and repair. So, guided healing. Besides this group, I want you to think about what forms of guided healing do you have? Are there any maybe spiritual groups that you're part of, any women's groups that you're a part of, any classes? It could be a workout class like this. Are you part of any guided healing? Maybe you're in therapy. Do you have that? So we have a yes here. Okay, that's wonderful. So I know we're coming up on time and I want us to be able to talk a bit and we want to do the book giveaway, and I want to tell you all about the book so you can know what we are giving away. But it is so important to find your tribe. I'm really thankful for you all being here tonight and gathering, because it can be very hard to go through these things alone, like we said, when you don't have anybody that understands what you're going through. You don't have anyone that can identify that you are going through something just by looking at you. Because a lot of us are walking looking like, we're fine, but nobody sees what's happening in your body or your mind. Like we talked about the mind body disconnect. No one knows that. And sometimes people know that we have these things going on, and y'all can tell me if this is true, but they forget. They forget, like, 2 weeks ago you said that you weren't feeling well. They forget that even though you didn't say you're not feeling well now, that you're still going through endometriosis. It's a chronic condition. It's almost like some people will think it's like a cold, like you had a cold and then you got over the cold and it's done. That's why you want to have a tribe. So Odelia says, I love my tribe. They show up and show out every time. I am so happy that you have found that. And if you haven't found a tribe, this is a tribe, but you can have different spaces and different kinds of people that you feel like you can relate to. Sometimes spiritually, you can find those people that you can pray with them. I have a group that um, we're called the Moms Prayer Tribe, where we gather once a month and we're moms and we pray with each other and we talk about our spirituality. So that's an example of finding different people that can get it. They get you, they see you, you are seen and heard. Because being isolated is a fast track to depression, and we don't want that, right? We want to reduce feelings of loneliness and depression. And I don't know if you all have heard this, but since the pandemic, some people haven't gotten back to feeling like themselves. They haven't gotten back to being social or being around people or connecting with people. So there is also this epidemic of feeling lonely right now. That's a point right there. If you can't find a tribe, start your own. I remember doing that when my daughter was young. I was a single mom and I started a group, and it was other single moms in the group, and we would take our kids out to the zoo, to the park, and do all kinds of things together, because it was very lonely seeing people with their spouses and their children doing things, and I was always doing things by myself with her. So I created a tribe. So absolutely, Odelia, create your own tribe or find a tribe. And this is a perfect example of a tribe. So this is going to be homework. We're not going to sit and do this right now because we're coming down on our time. But for your homework in your workbook, I'm going to want you to write out what is sustainable self-care and what's the special self-care. You know, the luxurious things. Because you want to give yourself that too, but you want to make sure that you're doing things that you can be consistent with so you can be resilient. So you can go from just surviving to thriving. And I want you to know self care looks different for everybody. Your self care may not look like anyone else in this group. It may not look like your friend or your neighbor. It may not even look like somebody else with the same condition that you have. So for some people, self care looks like going out, being social all the time. For others, it's staying in and resting. So I want you to remember that. Okay, Mandela says, I have a wonderful tribe, two friends and I, each in a different, wait, let me see, each in a different country, meet every Thursday early in the morning via WhatsApp to check in with each other and pray for each other's prayer requests. It has been awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I want you all to think about that. Like, are there maybe some friends that you can create your own tribe with, and you can create a routine to get together? It doesn't have to be an official thing like this, but that right there is an example of a tribe. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope that I'm saying your name right, Mandela, because you might have helped someone now who feels alone. Like, oh, wait, I'm just going to reach out to two of my friends and we're going to gather and we're going to connect so we can support each other. All right. So yeah, there's the link for the workbook again. You can download it, you can print it, it's yours. You can use it again if you miss half of the session. It's recorded, so you can go back and watch it. Okay, thank you. All right, so take time to review your workbook, write down any takeaways, and create your own self-care prescription. That's actually in the resources page. There is a book called The Self Care Prescription that I suggest you get if you're able to, where you look at self care not as just something you just do sometimes, but it's a prescription. Because you know, if a doctor says you are prescribed to do this, you actually feel like it's important and you have to stay on it, not just sometimes. Okay. So I definitely would love to support you all in coaching. I can support people anywhere in the world. to have a program called Permission to Pause. And if you missed it when I talked earlier, Permission to Pause came from me having my own health issues with fibroids for many years, getting to the place where I had to give myself permission to pause to take care of it. Also, in my healing journey, I wasn't healing because I wasn't resting. And my doctor said, "You're not healing because you need to stop. You need to stop." I needed to plug in and fully charge because after surgery, I wasn't healing. So you need to give yourself permission to pause, just like you gave yourself permission to be here. Because you could have been anywhere tonight. You could have been folding clothes tonight. You could have been doing anything at all. But you guys, you showed up for yourself and you showed up for each other. All right. So I don't know how we're going to do the book giveaway. But let me just tell you a little bit about the book that we are going to raffle off and give to one of you wonderful ladies. So some of you may have heard of an actress by the name of Kim Coles from a show called Living Single. So that Kim Coles. Kim Coles is the presenter of this anthology of 18 authors. I am one of the authors in this book. And these are chapters by real women. It is not a fictional book, it is a real book of us sharing different things that we've gone through in our lives and how we overcame them. So the book is called Wisdom Gifts 2. It has become a bestseller, and I'm so proud to be part of this project. Right now, we have a podcast episode out where I talk about my chapter. It's called Conquer the Imposter. And I talk about my experience in junior high school, growing up in Brooklyn, 1990s, where I'm in like the smart class. And I dealt with a lot of things that I didn't realize was imposter syndrome because I didn't have words for it. People didn't talk about that back then. I just knew as an immigrant child going to public school in America, I felt very odd and weird and different. I knew being in the classes that I was in, I didn't feel smart enough. And I had a lot of self doubt where I would be found out that I don't belong here. So I start off talking about that and how imposter syndrome followed me through high school to college to my first job through entrepreneurship until I decided I have to conquer this thing so I can show up. And one of the reasons why I wrote about imposter syndrome or conquer the imposter is when working with Kim, she talks to us, she interviewed us. And I told her, I was like, when I was in junior high school, I was voted most quiet. Kind of think about that. Not most likely to be a public speaker. I was voted most quiet. I was super shy, very quiet, much of an introvert. And a lot of that had to do with being different. Um, when you were in America in the early 80s, if you had any kind of accent, people would single you out for it. I actually had teachers that told me I spoke wrong and taught me to speak like I speak now. So I went through a lot of that over the years. So when I told her that, she was like, "You have to write about that." And that's how I came to write Conquer the Imposter chapter in the book. So we can do that giveaway now, I guess, if you'd like to. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right.
Thank you so much, Seneca. I enjoyed tonight's session, and from the chat, I am sure that all of the ladies have enjoyed tonight's session. At this time, we just want to take a few minutes if anybody has any questions at all that they would like to ask. Now is the time. Don't leave here with this burning question on your chest. Seneca is here. Ask it. So we just want to take just a few minutes for anyone who has any question at all. Okay. Raquel, do you want to type it in the chat or you would like to unmute and ask it? Raquel has a question.
Miss Thomas, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Okay.
I do not have any of the conditions that Ms. Williams spoke about, but I sure did learn tonight. I learned about self-care, self-love, unwind, relax, rest. Those are things that I need right now. And I made notes. I made notes of all the jottings, all the headings, the jottings under it. And I am sure going to put that in my journal. So I've learned a lot and I'm not going to keep it to myself. I'm going to pass it on. So it has been a joy on this platform, an eye-opener, and I'm being educated about a lot about women's, not only about women's health, but health in general. You understand that we need to take care of ourselves, and I am surely gonna do that. Starting from tonight, I'm gonna do that. Hi, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Raquel. Awesome. This was what we wanted when we planned this series for me, that women learn that they are valuable. And I mentioned this last week in last week's session, but a question I always ask is, while you're busy taking care of others, who takes care of you? And only you can take care of you. You know yourself the best. So we really have to invest the time that we're giving to others. We have to take a little bit of that for ourselves, because when we give it all to others and we have nothing left, what do we give them tomorrow? We have nothing. So in order to take care of everybody else around us, we have to take care of ourselves. Okay, next question. When is the next meeting? Next week, Thursday, same time. And next week, Thursday, we are looking at the topic from pain to peace with Miss Chrisanne Friday, and she is on the Zoom. Hi, Chrisanne. So next week, Thursday, same time, 7 o'clock, we will be looking at pain to peace. A question for you, Seneca. Do you ever get over the feeling of your body betraying you?
Oh, that is a good question. So I did have a long time where I did not get over that feeling of my body betraying me. And what I had to do is I had to like humble myself. Because when you have certain thoughts, God is going to show you something. When I had that surgery and I had the hysterectomy, probably like 2 days after having the hysterectomy, I decided to go for a walk outside. And luckily, I had my daughter with me. I must have walked about 20 steps, and all of a sudden, my legs couldn't work. I couldn't raise my legs because what you don't realize is you need your stomach muscles for your legs to work. And in that moment, I was terrified. I don't know how to describe what that feels like to be walking and realize your legs can't go up and down and they can't work anymore. That not only humbled me, but I was like, I'll tell you, my daughter helped me get back. Like I shuffled back, and got back to the house. But after that, I was like, okay, I need to heal some more before I walk again. But I was so thankful for walking that I was like, I'm so sorry, God, that I was over here like miserable and cursing my body because I'm so thankful my arms work and my hands work and my legs work and I can move and I can walk by myself. I was so thankful that that kind of like instantly made me stop saying my body is betraying me. That also wasn't helping me. So when you have times when you feel like your body is betraying you, you're going to have to get into the energy of, I'm grateful that it's still taking me to where I need to go. I'm grateful that this is working. I'm grateful that that part feels okay. You're going to have to bring yourself to a place of gratitude. So I hope that answered the question. The long answer.
Yeah, thank you for that. She needed a reminder. Niketa says she truly enjoyed the session. Yes, we all did. Are there any more questions or comments?
Yeah, it could be your takeaways. Like, what are your takeaways? Like, Raquel shared her takeaways. What are your takeaways from today? And if you're too shy to come on camera or speak, you can type it as well.
My takeaway, it was just a reminder of honoring what my body says to me. But I have a lot of irons in the fire, I have a lot going on. And so, and a lot of it is helping others. Um, so just acknowledging that I have limited energy. I like that you talked about your energy. What was it?
Like budgeting, energy
The
budget.
energy budget. I use the spoon theory that I
Yeah.
have certain amount of spoons, and once I use those spoons, I have no more spoons. But I like the energy budget. Sometimes my energy budget is depleted. It has $0 and 0 cents in it. But I'm still going, knowing that I will crash. And I've gotten a lot better over the years, but it still was just a reminder to me it's something that I need to keep working on. That even though my intent is good to help others, I serve no one when I am burnt out. I can't help anyone when I'm burnt out because when I crash, I am out for days, sometimes weeks. And, and it's just, sometimes she's in overdraft. Yes. So that was my takeaway, that I need to honor what my body is telling me and stop trying to push through to give and do, because at the end of the day, it serves no one, including myself. Okay, somebody has placed their takeaway. One of my major takeaways is that isolation really does lead to depression, and you do need a tribe. You need people in your corner. Can't always be giving of yourself until there is nothing left. Another takeaway, it's okay to say no. I was reminded to check in with myself, to monitor how I'm feeling, and also to use that as a guide to plan ahead. And another takeaway, I can't pour from an empty cup, and it's okay to say no. And there was another takeaway earlier up. I deserve to rest and say so. Okay, we have a hand up. Niketa, go ahead.
Hi everyone, good night.
Good night.
Oh my gosh, this session was truly amazing. It was an eye-opener. It was a reflection, looking back. My experience is totally from what she explained. I experienced a lot of what she explained. Um what I take away is learning to say no. you know, that is my new thing now. Learning to say no. Um, self-care. I mean, what is that right now? But I really understand the need for it, and that we really need to take care of ourselves, or else sometimes we burnt out. I saw someone, Alicia said it in a chat, she drew from her overdraft. And that's how I feel at times. It's like, keep going, going, in my mind, it's like, keep going. Okay, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. Even something like the naps, they say when baby sleeps, you sleep. I still didn't get that as yet. I still haven't gotten that. But the session overall was really, really interesting. I can't wait for the next one. Thank you very much.
You're
Everyone's baby,
welcome.
that's one of my babies. That's one of my babies. I was there for her birthday in March. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's so long now.
Okay, we have one more hand up, Mandela.
Good evening, everyone. Just say this was an excellent session. I have two regrets. One, that I didn't join sooner. I joined in late. And two, that I didn't share this far and wide because it has been so very, very helpful. I have too many takeaways to mention, but just to mention a few, self-care not necessarily being luxury. That really hit home to me because, like I tended to think, oh, self-care means making a spa day or, going to get my nails done, which, it hardly ever gets scheduled. But something as a mother with a young baby, I realized self-care some days can be just being sure that I get at least one long shower a day where I could just let the day just wash away. And that to me, especially in the early days of having a newborn, that felt like a spa treatment to me. So, the simple things that count as self-care and managing energy is also a big takeaway for me because sometimes when I think when Seneca said, sometimes it's 6 good hours a day and you tend to feel guilty like, oh, I'm supposed to be giving more in a day, but just giving yourself permission to like, this is the energy I have. Managing, knowing what time of day is usually high, medium, low, to know how to schedule your day. That was very, very helpful as well. And there are many others, but I'm mindful of the time, so I'll just stop there. So thank you so very much for this session. I am really thankful and I'm looking forward to being able to get the recording to be able to see what I missed earlier.
You're welcome. So happy that you were able to make it. I just posted the link for the live in the chat. So once the live has ended, you'll be able to rewatch it from the beginning. And Alicia, if you could just reshare the link for the workbook. So in case anybody missed it earlier, you will also have the workbook to download and follow along with. And we have a couple more comments and then we'll go to the giveaway. Oh, I love this. Kimitha, one of the quotes that really reminds me of the importance of pause. If we do not allow for a rhythm of rest in our overly busy lives, illness becomes our Sabbath. Our pneumonia, our cancer, our heart attack, our accidents create Sabbath for us. And we had another comment. This was a great session and I'm going to focus on my homework. Good. Can't wait for the next session.
Odelia, sorry, I was trying to put on my camera, but the phone is very finicky, so I just
Okay,
wanted
no
to.
problem. Go ahead, Shari.
All right, so I just wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Seneca and yourself for this session. Just listening to everybody's passion and the advocacy involved in living with endometriosis, fibroids, and everything that we're going through here. The voice is helping to break like the silence and bringing much needed attention to the condition because living with it for so long and not hearing so much about it in the Caribbean, especially here in St. Vincent, is really, really depressing. And to have this circle of women here advocating for us is truly amazing. I just wanted to thank everybody, and the session was really, really good. And I can't wait to go and do my homework. And my one takeaway from this is for me, that the realization that mental health is really my self-care and that I need to work more on that. So thank you again. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so we are going right into our giveaway for Wisdom Gifts 2. Alicia, is the wheel ready?
Yes, the wheel is ready.
We do a random drawing. We enter everybody who is on. And we do a random drawing. So let's see who's gonna win
Okay.
today's book.
Has it?
Still waiting for it to load. That's
Okay.
okay.
While it's loading, two things I want to mention. For those of us who have felt this feeling of your body. I want to recommend a song called My Body's My Buddy by Tessa Violet. I guess I'll, when I'm done doing the drawing, I'll write it in the chat. My Body's My Buddy. If you listen to the first time you listen to it, and maybe multiple times after, you will definitely cry. But it is a give it a listen.
It's on now.
It's gone now. Okay, hold on
Oh,
one
it's
second.
on the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I am not seeing it, but okay. And then the other thing is I just want to give another quick. Oh. Are we seeing who won?
Yes,
Oh,
Kevin.
wonderful. Davina won. Fabulous. Please send us your email address privately in the chat. While you're doing that, I just want to go over what next week's session is again. Chrisanne Friday will be our guest speaker. It's called From Pain to Peace, Easing Chronic Pain Through Nervous System Care. In this workshop, we're going to explore how the nervous system dysregulation contributes to pain and how you can begin to calm your body's stress response. You'll learn simple, practical strategies to ease pain, support your body, and shift from survival mode to a state of greater ease. And yeah, that'll be next week at 7 p.m.
So to end, I just want to thank everybody again for joining us tonight. Especially want to thank you, Seneca. This was a wonderful, wonderful session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was reminded of a lot of things and things that I needed to implement to keep going in my healing journey. So we appreciate you, Seneca. Big up all the Vinci girl them, wherever you are. So we thank you very much. Thank you to all the lovely ladies who made it out tonight and for sticking with us for the length of time. We appreciate you. We hope that you have learned a lot. We hope that this session was very helpful for you and you will be able to implement some of the things that we discussed tonight. So again, thank you everyone. Remember to come right back next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. with Chrisanne. We are looking at pain to peace. Don't want to miss it. Good night,
Don't.
everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Davina, please make sure to send us your email address.
Yes, she
Good
did.
night, everyone.
And
Good night.
congratulations
Good night.
again to
Thank you.
Debbie. Good night.
Bye.